Valuing inner peace is a magnetic force that emanates from a profound alignment with oneself, a presence so deeply rooted in the wholeness Jung described through his concept of individuation that it naturally draws others into its orbit without effort or artifice. This woman has embarked on the sacred journey of becoming whole, integrating light and shadow, conscious and unconscious aspects of her being to cultivate a harmony that resonates beyond words or appearances. Jung taught that the process of individuation is not merely psychological development, but a spiritual unfolding where the self emerges as a unifying center of balance and authenticity. It is within this alignment that true peace arises, a serene steadiness that reflects an unshakable core, untouched by the turbulence of external circumstances or fleeting emotions. Her commitment to peace is not avoidance of conflict or discomfort, but an embrace of life in its fullness, accepting paradox and complexity with grace and clarity. This inner tranquility becomes a beacon, inviting others to experience the calm power of presence that transcends superficial charm or coercive influence. The allure she holds is less about physical appearance or social status, and more about the deep resonance of a soul at peace with itself and the world. Her harmony acts as a mirror, reflecting back the potential for wholeness and integration that lies dormant within those she encounters, stirring an unconscious recognition that invites connection and admiration. This magnetic quality is not cultivated through performance or striving, but arises spontaneously when one lives in alignment with the self's deepest truths. It defies the fragmented and reactive patterns that dominate much of human interaction, offering instead a steady and authentic alternative that is both comforting and inspiring. In embracing peace as a value, she embodies the Jungian ideal of the individuated woman who moves through life with a quiet authority rooted in self-awareness and compassion. Her presence challenges cultural narratives that equate power with aggression or dominance, showing that strength can be gentle and influence subtle yet profound. The allure of her peace invites a reconsideration of what it means to be irresistible, shifting the focus from external validation to internal coherence and balance. It is a call to honor the soul's longing for harmony and to recognize that the most lasting and meaningful connections arise not from projection or performance but from genuine being. Through valuing inner peace, she participates in the collective awakening Jung envisioned, where individuals move beyond egoic conflict toward shared understanding and healing. Her journey reflects the timeless truth that when the self is integrated and at peace, it radiates a magnetic energy that draws others not through force but through the quiet power of authenticity and presence. This allure is a living testament to the transformative potential of inner work and the sacred path of individuation, reminding us all that peace is not merely a state to be sought but a way of being that makes one truly irresistible. Habit 1 unfolds as a dedicated practice of cultivating deep self-awareness, a journey inward that embodies Carl Jung's essential teaching that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires an honest and fearless engagement with both the conscious mind and the shadow aspects that lie hidden in the unconscious. This woman commits herself to conscious self-reflection and shadow work, practices that illuminate the unseen and often uncomfortable parts of her psyche, allowing her to recognize and integrate repressed emotions, fears, desires, and patterns that have shaped her identity in ways both subtle and profound. Through journaling, meditation, therapy, or quiet contemplation, she creates sacred space to listen attentively to the whispers of her unconscious, understanding that these messages are vital to resolving inner conflicts and dissolving the illusions that cloud her authentic self. Jung described the shadow as the reservoir of traits and impulses denied or rejected by the ego, and by embracing rather than avoiding these elements, she transforms fragmentation into unity, fear into empowerment, and confusion into clarity. This habit nurtures emotional maturity as she learns to observe her feelings without judgment or reactivity, discerning which impulses serve her growth and which keep her trapped in old wounds or limiting beliefs. Deep self-awareness becomes a source of strength and authenticity, enabling her to align her thoughts, emotions, and actions in harmony with her true nature rather than conforming to external expectations or conditioned responses. This integration cultivates a coherent identity that is fluid yet grounded, capable of embracing complexity without fracturing under pressure. Through this continuous process, she refines her capacity for empathy and compassion, recognizing that understanding her own shadow deepens her ability to connect genuinely with others, fostering relationships based on truth rather than facade. Her presence becomes magnetic, not because it demands attention, but because it radiates the quiet power of a soul that has been seen and accepted fully, both light and shadow, strength and vulnerability. In a world often conditioned to fear the unknown within, her commitment to self-awareness stands as a radical act of courage and love, inviting others to embark on their own journeys of introspection and healing. This habit also equips her to set boundaries and make choices from a place of clarity rather than confusion, reducing inner turmoil and cultivating peace amidst life's inevitable challenges. Jung taught that the path to wholeness requires a delicate dance between conscious intention and unconscious revelation, and through her dedication to deep self-awareness, she embodies this dance, continuously evolving toward greater integration and authenticity. Her life becomes a living testament to the transformative potential of shadow work and reflection, showing that true freedom arises when we dare to meet ourselves honestly and with compassion. This habit anchors her unshakable presence, a foundation from which she can engage with the world authentically and powerfully, inviting others to do the same and collectively raise the vibration of consciousness toward healing and unity. Habit 2 unfolds as a sacred practice of maintaining emotional boundaries, a profound act of self-preservation and respect that resonates deeply with Carl Jung's recognition of the ego as the center of conscious identity that must be protected and nurtured to achieve psychological wholeness. This woman has learned through her journey of individuation that setting compassionate limits around her emotional energy is essential not only to her survival but to her flourishing, enabling her to engage authentically with the world without being overwhelmed or diminished by external demands or the emotional turbulence of others. Her boundaries are not rigid walls of separation, but living, permeable lines drawn with kindness and clarity, reflecting a deep understanding of her own needs, limits, and values. Jung emphasized the importance of differentiating the self from the collective psyche to maintain integrity, and her habit embodies this principle by asserting the necessary distinction between her internal world and the influences she allows to enter it. Through this practice, she guards her vitality, ensuring that her emotional resources are reserved for relationships and experiences that honor her essence and contribute to her growth rather than drain or fragment her. This habit requires courage and discernment, as she must navigate cultural conditioning that often prizes self-sacrifice and blur the boundaries between self and other, especially for women. Yet she embraces this challenge as an act of radical self-love, recognizing that her ability to give and receive love authentically depends on the presence of clear, compassionate limits. Her boundaries foster mutual respect in her relationships, creating spaces where vulnerability can be shared safely without fear of exploitation or enmeshment. This practice nurtures her resilience and emotional stability, allowing her to remain centered amid the inevitable fluctuations of life and human interaction. Jung taught that the ego's integrity is essential for the psyche's harmony, and by maintaining emotional boundaries, she sustains the coherence of her identity while remaining open to growth and connection. This balance invites others to honor their own limits and fosters healthier dynamics rooted in honesty and respect. Her presence becomes a quiet but powerful assertion of self-worth, a living example of the strength found in gentle firmness and mindful protection of one's inner world. This habit deepens her self-awareness as she continually reflects on her experiences to recalibrate boundaries as needed, ensuring they serve her evolving needs and circumstances. It also cultivates humility and compassion, for she recognizes that boundary setting is a dynamic process requiring patience with herself and others. By protecting her energy through emotional boundaries, she embodies a vital aspect of Jungian individuation, the harmonization of separateness and connection, autonomy and intimacy. This practice anchors her peace and empowers her to engage with life from a place of wholeness rather than depletion, making her presence irresistibly magnetic. Through maintaining emotional boundaries, she not only preserves her own integrity but also contributes to the cultivation of a collective culture where respect for individuality and emotional health is valued and nurtured. Her habit serves as a beacon of possibility, inviting us all to honor the sacredness of our inner lives and to protect the delicate balance between openness and self-preservation that sustains our unbreakable spirit. Habit 3 is the profound and intentional embrace of solitude, a sacred practice through which a woman replenishes her spirit and deepens her connection to the unconscious, embodying Carl Jung's understanding that solitude is essential to the process of individuation and the cultivation of psychological wholeness. This woman recognizes that in the stillness of being alone, away from the distractions and demands of the external world, she can enter a sacred dialogue with the depths of her own psyche, where the unconscious reveals its symbols, archetypes, and wisdom that guide her toward greater self-awareness and integration. Jung taught that the unconscious is a vast reservoir of creative potential and hidden truths, accessible only when the conscious mind is quieted, and solitude provides the fertile ground for this quieting to occur. Through solitude, she withdraws not out of avoidance or isolation but from a conscious desire to nurture the inner landscape, allowing herself to rest, reflect, and renew in a space free from interruption. This habit becomes a vital source of emotional and spiritual sustenance, replenishing her energy and restoring balance amidst the inevitable challenges and complexities of life. It cultivates patience and receptivity as she learns to listen to the subtle messages and insights that arise in moments of silence, trusting that these inner communications are integral to her healing and growth. Embracing solitude also deepens her relationship with herself, fostering self-acceptance and compassion by creating a container where all parts of her, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, can be held safely and witnessed without judgment. This practice nurtures creativity and intuition, as the unconscious mind often speaks through dreams, symbols, and spontaneous inspiration that emerge most vividly in solitude. It supports her capacity to navigate the outer world with greater clarity and authenticity, as the insights gained in solitude inform her choices and interactions with conscious intention. Jung's archetype of the wise woman or the hermit reflects this sacred aspect of solitude, embodying wisdom that is born not from constant activity but from contemplative withdrawal and inner communion. By embracing solitude, she resists cultural pressures that equate constant busyness and social engagement with worth, reclaiming instead the right to pause and tend to her inner life as a vital act of self-care and empowerment. This habit fosters resilience, for it equips her to return to the world renewed, centered, and less reactive, grounded in a deep sense of inner peace that radiates outward. It also cultivates humility, as solitude reveals the vastness of the unconscious and the mysteries of the soul that transcend egoic control, inviting awe and reverence rather than certainty and domination. Through this practice, she honors the cyclical rhythms of life and psyche, recognizing that renewal requires retreat as much as engagement, and that true wholeness arises from the harmonious interplay of solitude and connection. Her life becomes a living testament to Jung's vision of the psyche as an evolving organism where conscious awareness and unconscious wisdom dance in dynamic balance, and solitude serves as the sacred space where this dance unfolds most profoundly. Embracing solitude for renewal, she walks the path of individuation with grace and courage, nurturing the unbreakable spirit that draws others not through force but through the quiet power of presence deeply rooted in inner harmony and truth. Habit 4 is the sacred cultivation of trusting intuition as an inner guide, a profound reliance on the subtle yet powerful wisdom that Carl Jung described as the voice of the self, emerging from the depths of the unconscious to illuminate a path of authenticity and alignment. This woman has learned to quiet the relentless chatter of the rational mind and the cacophony of external expectations in order to attune herself to the gentle stirrings of her intuitive awareness, recognizing that true guidance often arises not from logical analysis but from the symbols, feelings, and impressions that arise spontaneously within. Jung taught that intuition is one of the fundamental psychological functions connecting the conscious ego to the vast, mysterious realm of the unconscious, where archetypes and universal patterns reside, offering insights beyond the reach of reason. By trusting this inner wisdom, she navigates the complexities of life with a clarity and grace that stem from deep alignment with her whole self rather than fragmented desires or fears. Her intuitive practice is a dynamic dialogue, an ongoing conversation with the unconscious where she listens attentively to the messages that surface, discerning their meaning through reflection and experience. This habit requires courage and patience, for intuition often communicates through ambiguity and metaphor, inviting her to embrace uncertainty and open herself to possibilities beyond immediate comprehension. Trusting intuition fosters a profound sense of peace, as she surrenders the illusion of total control and instead flows with the rhythms of inner knowing, allowing choices to emerge that honor both her individual path and the greater collective unfolding. This reliance on intuitive guidance nurtures resilience and adaptability, equipping her to respond wisely to challenges and opportunities without becoming ensnared in overthinking or paralysis. It deepens her connection to the archetypal energies that shape human experience, allowing her to tap into sources of creativity, healing, and transformation that sustain her unbreakable spirit. In a culture that often prioritizes empirical evidence and external validation, her commitment to intuition stands as a radical reclamation of the soul's authority, affirming that the deepest truths are often felt rather than logically deduced. This habit also cultivates humility, as she recognizes that intuition is not infallible but a sacred guide that requires continual nurturing, discernment, and integration with conscious awareness. Her presence exudes a quiet magnetism grounded in the assurance that comes from aligning with inner truth, inspiring others to reconnect with their own intuitive capacities and embrace the mystery of the unknown. By trusting intuition as inner guidance, she embodies Jung's vision of the individuated self as one harmonizing intellect and instinct, conscious and unconscious, moving through life with a holistic awareness that fosters peace and authenticity. This habit transforms decision-making into a sacred practice, where each choice becomes an act of alignment with the deeper currents of purpose and meaning that flow through her existence. It invites a radical shift from reactive survival to intentional creation, empowering her to live fully in tune with her essence and the unfolding of her unique destiny. Through this sacred trust, she not only nurtures her own well-being but becomes a beacon for others, illuminating the path toward a more integrated, soulful way of being that honors the profound wisdom of the unconscious and the transformative power of inner guidance. Habit 5 embodies the profound practice of acceptance and letting go, a vital step in the journey toward psychological wholeness that Carl Jung emphasized as essential for true individuation and inner peace. This woman has come to understand that resistance to reality, no matter how painful or challenging, only intensifies suffering and fragments the psyche, and so she cultivates a deep, compassionate acceptance of what cannot be changed. Her practice is not a passive surrender but an active, conscious embrace of life's impermanence and the limits of control, allowing her to release the futile struggle against circumstances beyond her influence. Jung taught that the process of individuation involves reconciling opposites within the self and integrating shadow elements, and through acceptance, she harmonizes the tension between desire and reality, hope and loss, control and surrender. This habit fosters resilience by grounding her in the present moment, where she can engage with life fully and authentically without being pulled into futile regrets or anxieties about the future. Her letting go is an expression of profound trust in herself, in the unfolding of life, and in the wisdom of the unconscious that guides her toward growth even through hardship. By releasing attachment to fixed outcomes or expectations, she opens space for transformation and renewal, allowing new possibilities to emerge from the ashes of what was lost or relinquished. This practice nurtures emotional maturity as she learns to navigate grief, disappointment, and change with grace, holding pain without becoming overwhelmed or defined by it. Acceptance and letting go cultivate humility, teaching her that some aspects of existence are mysteries beyond comprehension or control, inviting a surrender that paradoxically strengthens her inner resolve. Her presence exudes a calm authority born from this groundedness, a serene steadiness that comforts and inspires those around her. Jung's vision of the self as an integrating center that balances opposites is embodied in her capacity to hold acceptance and aspiration in dynamic equilibrium, embodying strength that is gentle yet unyielding. This habit also deepens her compassion, as recognizing the universal nature of impermanence allows her to extend kindness to herself and others amidst inevitable change and loss. Through practicing acceptance and letting go, she transcends the victimhood of resistance and embraces the freedom of flow, becoming a living testament to the transformative power of surrender as a pathway to peace. Her unbreakable spirit is forged not by clinging to control, but by opening to the vastness of life with an open heart and mind. In a culture often obsessed with achievement and certainty, her habit challenges prevailing norms and offers a sacred alternative grounded in wisdom and grace. This practice supports her ability to set and maintain high standards with flexibility and compassion, understanding that growth often requires releasing old patterns and beliefs to make way for new life. Through acceptance and letting go, she walks the path of individuation with courage and serenity, embodying Jung's timeless truth that the greatest strength arises from the willingness to embrace what is, allowing the soul to breathe freely and expand beyond limitation. Habit 7 unfolds as a deliberate and sacred commitment to prioritizing authentic connections, a practice deeply aligned with Carl Jung's understanding that meaningful relationships are essential to the individuation process and the cultivation of psychological wholeness. This woman recognizes that genuine connection requires vulnerability, mutual respect, and a willingness to engage beyond the superficial facades that often dominate social interactions. She approaches relationships with discernment and intentionality, seeking bonds that nurture the soul, challenge her to grow, and reflect the integrated wholeness she has cultivated within herself. Jung taught that the psyche thrives in the interplay of opposites and the meeting of conscious and unconscious elements, and in the realm of relationships, this translates to the dynamic dance of authenticity and acceptance, depth and openness. By avoiding superficiality, she honors both herself and others, refusing to settle for connections based on convenience, pretense, or external validation. This habit fosters emotional safety and trust, as she creates spaces where honest expression is welcomed and shadows can be explored without fear of judgment or rejection. Her commitment to authentic connections nurtures resilience and empathy, allowing her to navigate the inevitable complexities and conflicts of intimacy with grace and understanding. She understands that authentic relationships mirror the process of individuation, offering opportunities to confront projections, heal wounds, and expand awareness through shared experience. This practice challenges cultural norms that often prioritize quantity over quality and appearance over substance, standing as a radical reclaiming of relational depth in a world frequently marked by distraction and superficial engagement. Her presence in authentic relationships radiates a magnetic energy grounded in integrity and genuine care, inviting others to step into their own truth and vulnerability. Through prioritizing such connections, she cultivates a sense of belonging that transcends loneliness and isolation, enriching her journey toward wholeness and unbreakable spirit. This habit requires courage and patience, as deep connection unfolds over time through continuous dialogue, mutual support, and the willingness to hold space for growth and change. It also nurtures humility, as she acknowledges that no relationship is perfect and that authentic connection involves embracing imperfection and the ongoing work of integration. Jung's archetype of the lover or the companion is reflected in her relational approach, embodying the sacred interplay of union and individuation that sustains psychological and spiritual health. By prioritizing authentic connections, she not only enriches her own life but contributes to a collective evolution toward deeper empathy, understanding, and community. This habit anchors her peace and resilience, providing a supportive network that nurtures her inner work and amplifies her capacity to engage with the world from a place of centeredness and love. Her relationships become mirrors of her integrated self, reflecting back the wholeness she embodies and inspiring those around her to pursue their own paths of authenticity and connection. Through this sacred commitment, she walks the path of individuation not in isolation but in communion, honoring the interconnectedness of all souls and the transformative power of genuine human bonds. Her life stands as a testament to Jung's timeless truth that authentic connection is not merely a desire but a necessity for the soul's fulfillment and the emergence of unshakable inner peace that makes her truly irresistible. Habit 8 is the profound embodiment of grounded presence, a quality that Carl Jung associated with the archetype of the self, the central organizing principle of the psyche that represents unity, balance, and wholeness, and which this woman has cultivated through deep inner work to remain centered and calm amidst the swirling chaos of the external world. She has journeyed through the myriad complexities of her inner landscape, integrating fragmented parts and shadow aspects with conscious awareness, creating a stable and harmonious core that anchors her regardless of life's unpredictable storms. Jung taught that the self symbolizes the totality of the psyche and functions as the ultimate goal of individuation, drawing the fragmented ego into alignment with the greater unconscious order. This woman's grounded presence is the living expression of that alignment, where her conscious mind harmonizes with the vast, often mysterious depths of her unconscious, producing an unshakable calm that radiates outward with quiet authority. In moments of turmoil, whether interpersonal conflict, professional pressure, or existential uncertainty, serenity, she does not become swept away by reactive impulses or emotional turbulence but rather returns to her inner center, a sanctuary of stillness and clarity cultivated through practices of reflection, mindfulness, and shadow integration. This presence is not static or detached, but dynamically engaged with the flow of life, allowing her to respond with grace and wisdom rather than impulsivity or anxiety. Her ability to embody this groundedness fosters resilience, enabling her to maintain equilibrium when others may falter, inspiring trust and confidence in those who witness her steadiness. It nurtures humility, as she recognizes that true power lies not in domination or control but in the capacity to hold tension without fracture, to embrace paradox without confusion, and to navigate complexity with openness and discernment. This habit is a testament to Jung's vision of the self as the transcendent center that reconciles opposites and integrates unconscious contents into a coherent whole, empowering the individual to live authentically and fully. Her grounded presence invites others to find their own centers of balance, offering a mirror of possibility that calms collective anxiety and fosters collective healing. In a culture often dominated by distraction, haste, and superficial reactivity, her serene poise stands as a radical reclamation of depth and intentionality, reminding us all that presence is a form of power that transcends noise and chaos. This habit supports her ability to set and uphold boundaries, make clear decisions, and maintain authentic relationships with a calm confidence that is magnetic rather than forceful. Through grounded presence, she embodies the archetypal wise woman or sage, a figure who guides through example and silent strength rather than loud proclamation. Her life becomes a sanctuary where wholeness is lived and witnessed, a living testament to the transformative potential of psychological integration and conscious being. This presence nurtures creativity, intuition, and healing, as a centered mind and open heart create fertile ground for insight and connection to emerge. By embodying grounded presence, she walks the path of individuation with grace and courage, becoming an unbreakable force not because she resists change but because she flows with it from a place of profound inner stability. Her journey invites us all to cultivate our own centers of calm amidst life's inevitable storms, recognizing that the power to remain whole and peaceful in chaos is the deepest form of resilience and the true source of an irresistible presence. Habit 9 emerges as the transformative practice of compassionate self-talk, a sacred dialogue within that Carl Jung identified as a crucial component of psychological wholeness and individuation, where nurturing the inner voice with kindness and understanding fosters peace, self-esteem, and authentic integration. This woman has embarked on a journey of deep self-awareness that reveals the power of the narratives she tells herself, recognizing that these internal stories shape her identity, influence her emotions, and guide her actions in profound ways. Rather than allowing the harsh judgments and critical voices of the ego or internalized societal expectations to dominate her inner landscape, she consciously cultivates a tone of compassion and encouragement, creating a safe and supportive mental environment where healing and growth can flourish. Jung taught that the psyche contains many conflicting voices, including the shadow and the persona, and that individuation requires an ongoing reconciliation of these elements through conscious dialogue. By practicing compassionate self-talk, she integrates fragmented parts of herself with tenderness, reducing internal conflict and fostering a cohesive sense of self that embraces both strength and vulnerability. This nurturing inner conversation allows her to reframe past wounds and failures not as permanent flaws but as essential teachers and stepping stones toward greater awareness. Her self-esteem deepens as she learns to recognize her intrinsic worth beyond external validation or achievement, anchoring her confidence in the enduring value of her whole being. This habit supports emotional regulation by softening reactive impulses and cultivating patience and forgiveness toward herself during moments of struggle or doubt. It invites her to be present with discomfort without harshness, transforming self-criticism into curiosity and acceptance. Her compassionate inner dialogue also strengthens resilience, equipping her to face challenges with grace and clarity rather than self-defeating narratives. This practice nurtures creativity and intuition by quieting mental noise and opening space for insight and inspiration to emerge. Jung's archetype of the nurturer or healer is reflected in this habit, as she becomes her own source of care and guidance, embodying the loving relationship between the conscious ego and the unconscious self. By modeling compassionate self-talk, she implicitly invites others to adopt similar kindness toward themselves, fostering a collective culture of empathy and psychological well-being. In a world often rife with judgment, comparison, and perfectionism, her habit stands as a radical reclaiming of inner dignity and love. It anchors her peace and presence, making her not only irresistibly authentic but also deeply connected to the universal human experience of striving, faltering, and healing. Through compassionate self-talk, she embodies Jung's timeless truth that the path to wholeness requires embracing all parts of ourselves with tenderness, transforming internal dialogue into a sacred source of strength, wisdom, and enduring self-respect. This habit is a living testament to the power of kindness toward the self as a foundation for unbreakable spirit and radiant authenticity, inviting us all to listen to our inner voices with the compassion they deserve and to walk the journey of individuation with open hearts and gentle patience. Habit 10 unfolds as the profound practice of aligning actions with core values, a sacred commitment that Carl Jung recognized as essential to the individuation process, where the conscious integration of personal principles with lived experience fosters inner harmony, psychological coherence, and authentic presence. This woman has journeyed deeply into self-exploration, uncovering the foundational beliefs and truths that resonate with the essence of her being, and she consciously chooses to embody these values in every decision and interaction, creating a life of integrity that mirrors the unified wholeness Jung described as the goal of individuation. Living in congruence with her core values nurtures a deep inner peace, as her actions no longer conflict with her authentic self but flow naturally from a place of alignment, reducing internal dissonance and cultivating emotional and spiritual balance. Jung taught that the self acts as a unifying center of the psyche, harmonizing conflicting impulses and guiding the individual toward wholeness, and her commitment to value-driven living reflects this inner cohesion, enabling her to navigate complexity with clarity and confidence. This habit strengthens her resilience, as adherence to deeply held values provides a stable compass amidst life's uncertainties and external pressures, allowing her to stand firm without rigidity or dogmatism. It also fosters respect from herself and others, because authenticity is inherently magnetic, and her integrity invites trust, admiration, and genuine connection. By embodying her values consistently, she creates a powerful presence that communicates strength without force and conviction without arrogance, inspiring others to consider their own principles and the alignment of their lives. This practice requires courage and discernment, as she must continuously reflect on and sometimes re-evaluate her values in the face of new experiences, ensuring that her life remains an evolving expression of her deepest truths rather than a fixed script imposed by external influences. Her alignment with core values cultivates humility, as she acknowledges the complexity of moral and existential questions and embraces the journey of continual growth and understanding rather than claiming perfection. It nurtures compassion, as living authentically opens her heart to the diverse paths and struggles of others, fostering empathy and connection rooted in shared humanity rather than judgment. Jung's archetype of the wise woman, or the sovereign, is embodied in her ability to govern her life through conscious choice and inner guidance, demonstrating the power of self-mastery grounded in values rather than external approval. This habit deepens her self-respect, as she no longer compromises or silences essential parts of herself for convenience or acceptance, honoring instead the sacredness of her individuality and purpose. It supports her capacity to set and uphold boundaries, make decisions with integrity, and navigate relationships and challenges with unwavering clarity. By living in congruence with her core values, she walks the path of individuation with grace and determination, embodying Jung's timeless truth that wholeness arises when the ego aligns with the self, creating a life where inner harmony radiates outward and the respect she commands flows naturally from the authenticity of her being. Her journey is a testament to the transformative power of values as living guides that sustain unbreakable spirit and radiant authenticity, inviting all who witness her presence to embark on their own journeys toward coherent and meaningful lives anchored in truth. Habit 11 reveals itself as the delicate yet powerful art of embracing vulnerability with strength, a practice deeply rooted in Carl Jung's understanding of the psyche's journey toward wholeness, where true courage arises from the integration of shadow and light, strength and softness, openness and resilience. This woman has walked the inner path of individuation, confronting the fears and wounds that often drive us to conceal our fragilities, and through this courageous engagement, she has discovered that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness but a gateway to authentic connection and profound personal power. By allowing herself to be seen fully, flaws, fears and all, she dissolves the masks that separate her from others, creating space for genuine intimacy founded on trust and mutual acceptance. Jung taught that the ego's defense mechanisms often shield the self from pain but also isolate it, and her habit of embracing vulnerability challenges these defenses by inviting healing through presence and honesty. Her openness does not expose her to harm but equips her with resilience, as she learns to hold discomfort without fracturing, to navigate uncertainty without retreating into protective armor. This balance nurtures an inner strength that is flexible and adaptive, capable of weathering emotional storms while remaining grounded in self-awareness and compassion. Her vulnerability becomes a source of magnetic authenticity, drawing others into relational depths that transcend superficial interaction, fostering empathy, understanding, and shared growth. This habit requires a refined discernment, as she cultivates the wisdom to discern when and with whom to reveal her truths, ensuring that openness serves connection rather than creating unnecessary exposure or harm. It also fosters humility and self-compassion, as she embraces imperfection and the universal human condition of fragility without self-judgment or shame. Through embracing vulnerability, she embodies Jung's archetype of the wounded healer, transforming personal pain into a source of empowerment and guidance for herself and others. Her resilience deepens as she integrates each experience of openness into a broader narrative of strength born from authenticity rather than denial or repression. This habit nurtures creativity and intuition, as vulnerability opens channels for emotional and psychic flow that fuel insight and innovation. In a culture often marked by fear of exposure and a valorization of invulnerability, her practice stands as a radical reclamation of the soul's right to be seen and heard fully, inviting a collective shift toward greater honesty and connection. By living vulnerably with strength, she models the dynamic tension that Jung described between ego boundaries and the expansive self, a dance that fosters growth, healing, and transformation. Her presence becomes a sanctuary where others feel safe to lower their defenses and explore their own vulnerabilities, creating ripples of trust and healing that extend beyond immediate relationships. Through this habit, she walks the path of individuation with courage and grace, embodying the timeless truth that the unbreakable spirit is not forged in stoic denial, but in the willing embrace of our whole humanity. Her journey invites us all to reconsider vulnerability not as a liability but as the fertile soil from which authentic power, connection, and wholeness bloom, reminding us that to be truly strong is to be profoundly open, resilient, and real. Habit 12 reveals itself as the sacred practice of reflective patience, a profound embodiment of Carl Jung's insight that individuation and psychological growth are not events to be rushed, but processes that unfold according to their own intrinsic rhythms and timing, requiring a deep trust in the natural cycles of life and soul. This woman has come to understand that her journey toward wholeness cannot be hurried or forced but must be honored with patience that is both active and reflective, a conscious willingness to engage with each moment as it arises, to sit with discomfort and uncertainty without judgment or despair, and to allow transformation to occur organically through the gradual integration of conscious and unconscious elements. Jung taught that the psyche's healing involves a continual dialogue between opposites and that this dynamic tension necessitates time and openness to resolve, making reflective patience an essential virtue on the path to authentic selfhood. She cultivates this patience not as passive resignation, but as a deeply engaged awareness that embraces the unfolding mystery of her own becoming, recognizing that growth often involves cycles of contraction and expansion, setbacks and breakthroughs, darkness and illumination. Her reflective patience allows her to observe her inner states and external circumstances with equanimity, gaining insights from both joy and struggle, and weaving these experiences into a coherent narrative that supports resilience and wisdom. This habit fosters humility, as she acknowledges the limits of control and the unknowable nature of the future, inviting surrender not as defeat but as trust in the deeper intelligence guiding her soul's evolution. Through reflective patience, she develops a compassionate relationship with herself, allowing space for imperfection and gradual healing without harsh self-criticism or impatience. Her presence becomes a steady beacon of calm amidst the turbulence of life's demands and distractions, inspiring others to cultivate their own rhythms of growth and renewal. This practice deepens her connection to the archetypal rhythms that govern nature and psyche alike, aligning her life with the timeless dance of birth, death, and rebirth that Jung described as central to individuation. Reflective patience nurtures creativity and intuition, as the stillness and openness it fosters invite the emergence of insights and inspirations that cannot be forced but arise spontaneously when the soul is ready. In a culture obsessed with speed, immediate results, and relentless productivity, her commitment to reflective patience stands as a radical reclaiming of the sacredness of time as a healer and teacher, offering a counterpoint to the frantic pace that often leads to fragmentation and burnout. This habit supports her ability to maintain inner harmony and clarity, making decisions grounded in long-term wisdom rather than impulsive reaction. By embodying reflective patience, she walks the path of individuation with grace and steadfastness, embodying Jung's timeless truth that unbreakable strength is forged not in haste but in the patient, loving unfolding of the self's deepest potential. Her journey invites us all to slow down, to honor our own cycles of growth, and to trust that the unfolding of wholeness is a mystery best approached with reverence, presence, and unwavering faith in the soul's inherent wisdom. Habit 13 unfolds as the profound practice of creative expression, a sacred channeling of the unconscious energies that Carl Jung revealed as the wellspring of inspiration, healing, and psychological wholeness through which a woman nurtures her inner peace and radiates an irresistible magnetism that captivates and uplifts those around her. This woman recognizes that creativity is not merely an external act of making but a deeply internal process of translating the symbolic language of the unconscious into forms that speak to the soul, whether through art, music, writing, movement, or other expressive modalities. Jung taught that the unconscious communicates through archetypes, images, and myths, and by engaging in creative expression, she invites these hidden aspects of herself into conscious awareness, facilitating integration and transformation. This habit becomes a vital sanctuary where the tensions and contradictions of her inner world find release and meaning, allowing emotional complexities, shadow elements, and unspoken truths to emerge in a form that fosters healing and renewal. Through creativity, she transcends the limitations of rational thought and language, accessing intuitive wisdom and deep emotional resonance that nurture her sense of wholeness and connectedness. This process not only soothes and replenishes her spirit but also enhances her presence, imbuing her with a dynamic vitality and authenticity that draw others magnetically into her orbit. Her creative acts are offerings that bridge the personal and collective unconscious, tapping into universal themes and archetypes that resonate broadly while honoring her unique voice and vision. Engaging in this habit requires vulnerability and courage, as she surrenders to the unpredictable flow of unconscious material, trusting the process even when the outcomes are uncertain or challenging. Creativity becomes a dialogue between conscious intention and unconscious impulse, a dance that fosters flexibility, openness, and continuous growth. This practice nurtures resilience by providing a constructive outlet for processing pain, complexity, and transformation, preventing stagnation and fragmentation within the psyche. Jung's concept of the transcendent function finds embodiment here, where opposites within her are united through symbolic expression, creating new possibilities and insights that enrich her inner and outer life. Her creative expression also deepens her empathy and relational capacity, as it invites others to witness and connect with the authentic depths of her experience, fostering mutual understanding and healing. In a culture often dominated by logic and productivity, her dedication to creative expression stands as a radical reclaiming of the soul's voice, affirming that art and imagination are vital paths to psychological and spiritual integration. This habit enhances her ability to remain present and centered, as the flow of creativity anchors her in the present moment and connects her to the eternal rhythms of life and psyche. By channeling unconscious energies through creative expression, she not only nurtures her peace but also amplifies her magnetic presence, becoming a living testament to Jung's vision of the psyche as a dynamic, evolving organism where healing and transformation arise from the dialogue between conscious and unconscious. Her journey invites others to embrace their own creative impulses as sacred invitations to integration and authenticity, fostering a collective awakening to the transformative power of art and soul-led living. Through this habit, she walks the path of individuation with vibrancy and depth, embodying the timeless truth that the unbreakable spirit is not only rooted in resilience and wisdom, but also blooms fully when nourished by the creative wellspring that flows from the unconscious into expression and connection. Habit 14 unfolds as a sacred and transformative practice of forgiveness and release, a profound pathway toward liberation and sustained tranquility that Carl Jung deeply understood as essential to the journey of individuation and psychological integration. This woman has traversed the often turbulent terrain of pain, betrayal, and loss, confronting the shadows within herself and others with courageous honesty and compassion. Forgiveness for her is not a simplistic absolution or a denial of injustice, but a conscious, deliberate choice to relinquish the corrosive burdens of bitterness, resentment, and rage that imprison the soul in cycles of suffering and fragmentation. Jung taught that unresolved grievances and unintegrated shadow aspects manifest as internal conflicts that disrupt psychic harmony, and through the practice of forgiveness, she opens the door to healing these fractures, allowing the energy once trapped in pain to flow freely and creatively once again. This habit requires profound self-awareness and humility, as she acknowledges the complexity of human imperfection, the inevitability of harm, and the universal need for grace. By forgiving herself and others, she breaks free from the chains of victimhood and judgment, reclaiming her power not through retaliation but through compassionate understanding and release. This liberation fosters a deep, enduring peace that is not dependent on external circumstances or the behavior of others, but arises from the inner alignment of acceptance, love, and freedom. Her forgiveness becomes a sacred act of self-care and spiritual renewal, nurturing resilience and fostering a tranquil presence that calms both her own turbulence and that of those around her. It invites a reconciliation of opposites within the psyche, light and shadow, justice and mercy, pain and healing, embodying Jung's vision of the self as the integrative center where contradictions find harmony. Through this practice, she transforms wounds into wisdom, losses into lessons, and fractured relationships into opportunities for growth and empathy. Forgiveness deepens her connection to the collective unconscious, tapping into archetypal energies of healing and redemption that resonate across generations and cultures, reminding her of the shared human journey toward wholeness. In a society often resistant to vulnerability and quick to assign blame, her commitment to forgiveness stands as a radical reclaiming of soul's freedom, modeling the courage to move beyond grievance toward compassion and peace. This habit also cultivates patience and ongoing reflection, as forgiveness is understood not as a single event, but as a continual process of release, renewal, and conscious choice. Her presence radiates the quiet power of a spirit unburdened by grudges, inviting others to witness the possibility of transformation through grace. By practicing forgiveness and release, she walks the path of individuation with integrity and love, embodying Jung's timeless truth that liberation arises not from external circumstances, but from the inner alchemy of acceptance and compassion that restores unity to the fractured self. Her journey offers a beacon of hope and healing, a testament to the unbreakable strength that blooms when the soul chooses freedom over resentment, peace over pain, and wholeness over division. The conclusion gracefully brings together the journey through all the habits, revealing that peace is not a mere absence of conflict but a profound magnetic power that emanates from a woman who has achieved wholeness through the integration of all facets of her being, echoing Carl Jung's timeless insight that true individuation, the unification of conscious and unconscious elements, forms the foundation of an authentic and irresistible presence. This woman's peace is born from the relentless, courageous work of embracing her shadow, setting compassionate boundaries, trusting intuition, nurturing authentic connections, and practicing forgiveness, patience, and creative expression, each habit weaving together into a tapestry of inner harmony that pulses with life and strength. Jung taught that the self is the center of psychic totality, the guiding principle that organizes and harmonizes the many contradictions and complexities within, and it is from this unified center that her presence radiates, drawing others not through force or superficial allure but through the undeniable authenticity of a soul fully realized and at peace with itself. This magnetic power transcends external circumstances, remaining unshaken amid chaos, inviting others into a space where vulnerability and strength coexist, where the dance of light and shadow is embraced rather than feared. Her peace is an active force, a living energy that nurtures connection and inspires transformation, offering a refuge in a fragmented world and a model for how resilience and grace can be cultivated through conscious living. The habits she has cultivated are not isolated practices but interdependent expressions of the same profound psychological truth, that wholeness achieved through the continual integration of the self is the source of unbreakable strength and genuine allure. This peace grounds her actions and choices, enabling her to move through life with clarity, compassion, and an unshakable sense of self that naturally commands respect and admiration. Her journey reflects Jung's vision of the psyche as a dynamic, evolving system where healing and growth arise from the dialogue between conscious intention and unconscious wisdom, and where the individuation process leads to the emergence of a fully embodied self. Through this lens, peace is not a passive state, but a vibrant, creative power that sustains her unbreakable spirit and fosters authentic relationships and meaningful engagement with the world. It invites us all to reconsider our own definitions of strength and allure, recognizing that the most compelling presence is one grounded in self-awareness, integration, and love for the entirety of one's being. Her life becomes a beacon of possibility, illuminating the path toward a deeper, more soulful way of being that honors the complexity and beauty of human experience. This magnetic peace is the culmination of a sacred journey, an invitation to embrace the full spectrum of our humanity and to cultivate the inner harmony that makes us not only resilient but irresistibly alive. In embodying this peace, she not only transforms herself but also contributes to the collective healing and awakening that Jung believed was the ultimate purpose of individuation. Her presence stands as a living testament to the power of wholeness to create connection, inspire growth, and radiate a light that draws others toward their own journey of self-discovery and transformation.